Hi, my name is Lee Gitsis. I'm the Technology Services Manager for Com Solutions Company. And today we're going to talk about part 3 of our BYOD 2.0 series, Why the VDI Experiment Has Failed, and Use Case Drives Success. So to this point, we've talked about in the previous segments, one, that VDI, as we've always come to know it, while it sounds like a great solution and seems like it's going to satisfy a lot of our problems, from a practical standpoint, from an investment standpoint, and an ROI standpoint, just seems to be pretty much unattainable. The amount of investment we would need in enterprise resources makes it a very, very far-reaching project. We've also learned that VDI is not truly about desktops. It's really about applications and it's really about user experience. So with that, we found there are many, many ways to deliver this to users, applications, user experiences, as well as desktops. And with that, different methods gain different efficiencies that can make this a palatable and useful type of solution. But now the question comes into play, well, now I've got all these choices, what do I do? How do I leverage them? And the answer to that really is use case drives success. Use case is always going to drive the deployment method, and many, if not all, organizations have multiple use cases. The computing needs of a developer and a customer service representative are going to be vastly different. Their experience should also be. So an example of this is we have a large enterprise in Pennsylvania in the Philadelphia suburbs, um, and they're a sales-based organization, and they have a large call center. And typically, these call center employees, based on the way they work and their usage load, would be considered mid to low users and fit into a shared desktop model. However, they have an application that cannot run in a shared model. It cannot run on any kind of shared server resource or anything other than a resource that one user gets one desk application to one desktop. So for those users, what we decided to do was a VDI deployment in a pool of desktops, so we can gain efficiencies in imaging in the capacity in IO. Then and that user chunk takes up about 10% of their user base. Another 80% of their user base are also medium to light users. But what we found by assessing their applications is they can easily fit into a shared desktop model. So with that 80% of their user base, they're receiving published shared desktops from XenApp, and they're able to effectively work efficiently and easily, and we're able to gain all sorts of hardware and storage efficiencies by leveraging XenApp. For the final 10% of their user base, it's primarily consumed of developers, IT staff, and executive staff. Because they have specialized needs and need to have the ability to reboot, need to have the ability to install software, and different types of access than traditional users, we've decided to give them assigned virtual desktops. So each of those users have their own dedicated storage as well as their own dedicated virtual machines. But as we can see in this example, the use case drove the deployment. We have three separate deployment methods for three separate types of users, all within the same organization. And by leveraging shared desktops for a big chunk of them, we were able to gain enough efficiency to make it a palatable and useful solution from a cost standpoint as well as a management standpoint. The other important part of this factor is that use case drives savings. So when we leverage shared desktops and when we leverage published applications to deliver to users, we can reduce resource requirements by 66% in a lot of cases. Provisioning technologies can also help with this. Provisioning services, as we all know, provide single image management. So from that perspective, we can greatly reduce our capacity. If we don't have that, then if we've got 1,000 users, each of those 1,000 users need 100 gigs of disk space each to be able to house their virtual desktop. With single image management, I only need 100 gigs once. Each of those 1,000 users then only need 5 or 10 gigs for cache data. Everything else can be drawn right off of that primary image. So capacity, we can greatly gain. The other thing that provisioning services does is it allows us to take advantage of Windows 2008 R2 and RAM. So when a virtual machine boots, it reads from the disk the first time, and everything it read in order to boot and operate is cached into the RAM of the provisioning server. When every subsequent virtual machine boots or operates, the read IO go to RAM where the data is cached as opposed to going to disk. So we can mitigate having to worry about our RAM, or excuse me, having to mitigate the need to having to worry about our read IO. And as we all know, disk IO is the biggest killer and the biggest miscalculation that people make in unsuccessful VDI deployments. So by being able to mitigate reads, it's going to bring the investment requirements down, and it's also going to bring down the room for error. Com Solutions recommends Citrix Zen Desktop 5.6. The reason why is because it's not just VDI. It's an application and resource delivery suite. It's the only platform that in one license can deliver virtual desktops, shared desktops, published applications, virtualized applications, server and desktop single image provisioning, as well as a high definition user experience. Zen Desktop also delivers FlexCast. With FlexCast, we can support every major common operating system in existence today, including Chrome OS with an HTML5 client. It also delivers a rich user experience to users to any device, anytime, from virtually any connection. It is a true service-based delivery model. Users can quickly connect via self-service. From an iPad, from an Android device, they can go to their app store, they can download the client, they can enter a URL, a username and password, and quickly open an enterprise app store where they'll have access to all of their applications. It enables us to quickly scale and provision resources. And it allows us to provide instantaneous support and leveraging our enterprise resources that's highly available. So the question comes into play when we look at it from this perspective and we use all these tools. Why will it work when traditional VDI didn't? Well, for one, it's going to ease support inefficiencies. So now we've got much less virtual for your time.